Hello, and thanks for joining this webinar on the Global Human Development Program at Georgetown University. Today we're going to provide an introduction to our program and curriculum and then also talk a bit about the application process. My name is Katie Lee and I'm the Associate Director of Academic Programs here at the Global Human Development Program. And today I am joined by several students and a professor, and I'll let them each introduce themselves.
I am Erwin Tiongson. I'm Deputy Director of the Global Human Development Program. I also teach the core course on evaluation, as well as a couple of electives on quantitative methods.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace Holzman. I'm a second-year student in the program. I specialize in quantitative analysis and Latin American security. Prior to coming to GHD, I graduated from Fordham University in New York with a bachelor's degree in international political economy. And then I spent 2 years working in Belize City as a member of the Jesuit Volunteer Corps.
Hi everyone, my name is Daly Adams. I'm a first-year student in the GHD program. I am specializing in food, agriculture, and rural livelihoods. I came to the GHD program after 3 years working in East Africa between Rwanda and Uganda on various nutrition, health, and child development programs. And before that, I did my undergraduate at American University studying international development and public health.
Hello, my name is Fernanda Estrada. I am an international student here at the GHD program, a first-year student. I am from Mexico, and before the program, I was working for the USAID mission in Mexico, working on crime prevention programs. And before that, I was working for the Mexican government, specializing in migration. So that is my specialization here at the GHD program, refugee and migration.
So the Global Human Development Program is part of the Walsh School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University. The School of Foreign Service, it's actually the oldest school of international affairs in the United States. We just had our big centennial celebration this past weekend in 2019. It is ranked #1 for graduate study of international affairs by Foreign Policy. And here at the School of Foreign Service, the Global Human Development Program is actually one of 8 graduate degree programs. There are 5 regional programs and 3 thematic programs, of which the Global Human Development Program is one, the other 2 being the Master of Science in Foreign Service and the Security Studies program. And we'll talk in a little bit about what the advantage of those various programs can be when you are looking at elective classes in the program. The School of Foreign Service, it's known for its academic rigor and professional development, which we'll talk a little bit more as well, the different skills our students can learn as well as the career services that are provided. And of course, our DC location is a great advantage for both the professors that we can bring to campus, the speakers that we can bring to campus, as well as the types of internships that our students can do while they're students in the program. The Global Human Development Program specifically is very much a practitioner-focused program. It's skills-based and practitioner-focused. We've created it for international development practitioners, and all of our students come to the program with some professional experience, as you may have heard from our current students who are participating today. And our goal is to prepare the next generation of development professionals. We have alumni working all over the world in public sector, private sector, nonprofits, and multilateral organizations. And we'll also go over a bit our alumni career outcomes a little bit later in the presentation. So the program itself is a 2-year full-time program. The program consists of 9 core courses that focus on a variety of topics that you can see up on the screen. Starting with the first semester, students take 4 core classes, and as they go through the program, they have more and more time for electives. These electives can be taken within the GHD program. We offer a number of electives every semester, as well as in those other programs in the School of Foreign Service that I mentioned, and also within other schools here at Georgetown University. So on a space available basis, students can take classes at the Business School, the School of Public Policy, the Department of Government, or the Law School. We're also part of a consortium of DC universities here, so that includes George Washington University, American University, George Mason University, some other schools as well. And the advantage of that is that students can register for a class at American University, for example, but they register through Georgetown. So any Georgetown financial aid they have still applies to that class at another school. So I'll pause here for a moment. We do have Professor Townsend teaches a core class. If there's anything you want to expand upon in our core curriculum.
As Kiki rightly said, this is very much a practitioner-focused international development program. So the way we teach our core courses and many of our electives incorporate these orientations. For example, in our spring course on impact evaluation or monitoring and evaluation, we will be working with a few global partners who will share with us their data from either an ongoing impact evaluation, maybe some initial thinking on an impact evaluation they would like to implement, and get students from the program to then support some of these efforts. So last year, for example, students in the core monitoring and evaluation class replicated the impact evaluation conducted by the World Bank in Benin. They were evaluating a youth employment program, and they gave us access to data from their baseline and midline surveys, which a good number of students then analyzed as a contribution to the work of the World Bank.
Great. And Grace, as a second-year student, can you tell us about any electives you've taken either within the GHD program or outside of it in other programs?
Yeah, I've really liked my electives. I've taken a number within the GHD program. Two of my favorites were 2 half-semester mods that I took in the second semester of my first year, Advanced Econometrics 1 and 2. And I really liked those classes because as someone who's interested in quant, it was a really cool opportunity to dive deeper into some of the topics that had come up in our core courses. I've also taken electives in the security studies and Latin American studies programs here, which have been really cool ways to, again, focus on areas of interest, but to engage with students and faculty from other programs, which I think has offered a really unique opportunity to get experience talking with and debating these issues with folks coming at it from like a different viewpoint. So I've really enjoyed the opportunity to pursue those options.
And sure, first-year students, you haven't taken any electives yet, but is there anything you particularly enjoyed in your core classes or any electives that you're really looking forward to in the spring now that you've registered for spring classes?
I am very much looking forward to mine. I am doing the Gateway course for the Refugee and Emergency and Humanitarian Emergency Certificate, which is Intro to Humanitarian Crisis. And then I'm doing one in Refugee in the Middle East and Northern Africa. So looking forward.
I am also enrolled in the Refugees and Humanitarian Emergencies class. I'm very excited about that. And the Gateway class for the Food Security Specialization.
So we've made a few references to certificates and specializations. So we do require that all students pursue a specialization as part of the degree. It can get a little bit confusing on what exactly we mean by that. So GHD offers a number of specializations in some common areas you can see up on the screen related to education, environment, climate, food, agriculture, rural livelihoods, global health, or quantitative analysis, which we renamed to quantitative analysis and evaluation. So those are some common areas that our students choose to specialize in. Specialization requires 9 credits, which is the equivalent of 3 full semester courses, or you may have heard Grace reference mods, which are half semester classes. So students can also mix and match some of these half semester modules. If there's a particular area that you're interested in that's not listed up on the screen, we do also allow students to self-design a specialization. So some recent ones we've had students self-design specializations in post-conflict development, in data-driven agriculture, and gender and development. So there is a lot of flexibility with these specializations for students to really focus their studies, but also market themselves to future employers. Then another option to fulfill this requirement is to pursue a certificate. These are offered through mostly other programs at the School of Foreign Service, though we also offer one as well. They're a little bit more formal and require 15 to 18 credits of electives of your 21 credits available for electives. And as you can see, there's a number of regional certificates as well as some thematic certificates. Popular ones being the Refugees and Humanitarian Emergencies Certificate that's been referenced, the International Business Diplomacy, and the GHD is the program that manages the Social Innovation and Global Development Certificate, which is a new certificate which builds upon our previous Social Enterprise and Innovation Fellows program. So if you're interested in the Social Innovation and Global Development Certificate, I encourage you to check out the website specifically for that certificate. There's a great video introducing that certificate on that webpage. Anything to add on our certificates? Oh, great.
As this slide says, the emphasis is on small class sizes with such a small cohort. Lots more face time with both faculty and your classmates. Lots of time for discussions and to bring into these class discussions all your acquired professional and academic experiences. This slide also says that there are a good number of applied learning opportunities. Once again, the idea is that this is a practitioner-focused international development program. So not surprisingly, many of the key features, many of the key components of this two-year program emphasize practice. So for example, between your first year and second year in the program, you are required to do a summer internship overseas. The program provides funding for this summer internship, including financial resources to cover the cost of airfare. This is a great opportunity because it opens up a possibility of working with a good number of organizations overseas, including those that are otherwise unable to provide paid internships. So in fact, we have a good number of formal and informal partnerships with organizations overseas that have offered internship opportunities to our students in the past. So for example, we have formal and informal arrangements with international organizations like UNICEF, IOM, the World Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank. We have internship partnerships also with development consulting agencies. We just signed an agreement, for example, with Social Impact, an organization that provides monitoring and evaluation services worldwide. And we have partnerships with the private sector as well. So a couple of our students last summer and the summers before worked with the corporate citizenship and sustainability departments of some private global companies. The program also requires that you do an internship during the regular semester, that is to say in the fall or spring. And of course, here in DC, within a kilometer or two, you have access to some of the most important development organizations in the world. The World Bank is here, the IMF is here, the Inter-American Development Bank, even the other regional development banks have representation here in the DC area. So some of our students, for example, have worked with the Washington, DC office of the Asian Development Bank. Apart from those, the bigger international development community, of course, includes USAID, MCC, the development consulting agencies, nonprofits, foundations, and so on. And then there's the year-long capstone project. This is what you do upon coming back from your summer overseas. So this is in the second year of your program. During the second year of your program, you work in pairs, and you're matched with a client organization, and you are asked to address a real problem or a real challenge, usually an operational challenge, maybe a strategic challenge faced by an organization. So for example, last year, a couple of our students worked with a global organization that was trying to decide whether they should whether they should expand their operations to include Myanmar. So these two students then spent most of the October to March period talking to various stakeholders. One of the students had actually lived and worked in Myanmar. And they did a stock taking of what the development needs are and the development challenges in Myanmar and what's the comparative advantage of this client organization. And then at the end of this capstone period in late March, early April, they presented their findings and their proposal to the senior leadership of this global organization that then promptly adopted the capstone project as their new strategy moving forward in Myanmar.
And Grace, as a second year student, you've now completed or are currently working on these three applied learning opportunities. Do you want to expand on your experiences in some of them?
Sure. So I interned in my first year in the program with the Center for American Progress, which is a think tank here in DC, and I worked with them on their immigration policy team, which was super cool and interesting in a lot of regards, especially because we were focusing on a lot of really important domestic legislation at the time that has pretty significant impacts for development internationally, specifically within Latin America. And then I went on and I spent my summer in Asunción, Paraguay with the Fundación Paraguaya, which is a social enterprise group. I worked for their statistical methodology team, doing a lot of statistical analysis and helped support a field survey project, which was really interesting on a lot of fronts. And then I'm currently working for the Department of Defense, their Indo-Pacific Combatant Command, on a monitoring and evaluation framework as my capstone project. So I'm working with one of my classmates on that, and it's been a super cool learning experience. I don't have any prior experience working with the public sector or the military, so it's been a really neat way to see how the military and the US government overall engages in development and gender programming.
And just to expand on one thing on the class sizes, the size of the cohort is 25 to 30 students. So right now we've got 30 second year students and 29 first year students, and that means the largest class would be the size of your cohort. So our core classes are typically the cohort together, but some of them we split in half. For example, the quantitative methods class, we split the students in half. And then our electives are capped at 18 students, but most of them are between 5 and 15. So most of our classes are quite small. And I think Professor Tiangson wanted to add something on workshops.
Yes, so something that's not here, but certainly part of our applied learning opportunities. We have a workshop series throughout the year. We have anywhere from 10 to 12 workshops. They're not required. We usually offer them every other week or so. And these workshops, typically running for a couple of hours, maybe 3 hours, they're opportunities to acquire discrete new skills. So for example, this semester, we've had a few workshops on such topics as data visualization or how to do integrated cost-benefit analysis of climate investments. We're going to have one this Friday. It's an introduction to qualitative research methods. It's going to be taught by a cultural anthropologist. And in spring, we'll have a number of workshops on climate policy. We'll have one on multi-risk hazard assessment and another workshop on disaster risk mitigation simulation exercises. So these are, as I said, it's not required, but you have opportunities to acquire new skills to add to your portfolio of tools and practical skills during your time here in GHD. And of course, during your time here in GHD, you have access to scholars and practitioners, some of the world's leading thinkers on specific themes and topics in international development. So we heard, for example, a few minutes ago, our first year students mentioned the courses that they'll be taking in spring on refugee and migration issues. These are taught by the world's leading experts on migration policy and refugee policy. In fact, one of the courses on migration policy that's taught by the director of the Institute for the Study of International Migration, that's Catherine Donato. And she's been leading some fascinating work. She's been collecting longitudinal data in Iraq, for example, and in Bangladesh and in Mexico. Really amazing work. During your time here, there are opportunities also to provide research support to scholars and practitioners. Some of our GHD students, for example, are working as research assistants to faculty members or research assistants and affiliated with various centers and institutes here at Georgetown. The Beck Center for Social Impact and Innovation, for example, a few other centers around the university. Here at GHD, you will also have numerous opportunities to network with global practitioners. I mentioned the workshops earlier. These are typically taught by global practitioners from the USAID or MCC or the World Bank or the IMF. And among your classmates, of course, you'll have anywhere from 25 to 40% international students. But everyone in your class, everyone in your cohort has had international experience. Everyone has had the opportunity to live or work overseas. There are a good number of student organizations. I serve as advisor to an organization called Georgetown Anti-Poverty. And we're organizing a business development and human rights forum that's taking place in a couple of weeks. Once again, an opportunity to meet global practitioners. This annual forum, will feature those who work at the intersection of the private sector and international development. So we will have representations from different companies that have financial inclusion programs. The keynote speaker is the founder and CEO of an organization called We Connect International, an organization that brings together women-owned businesses worldwide. We have somebody from World Bank Treasury. They've been pioneers in the use of impact bonds. They came up with the idea of green bonds and so on. And then during your time here at GHD, you also have access to free language classes. And I think Katie can tell you more about these classes.
Yes, so we do require that all students pass proficiency in another language by the time that they graduate. And so to help students get to that point, we do offer free language classes here at Georgetown. We offer them, it's 17 or 18 languages here at Georgetown, and we also have an agreement with Johns Hopkins SAIS for their South and Southeast Asian languages that our students can also take for free at Johns Hopkins. So, that's a great opportunity to really work on your language skills, but it also does not have to be the same language that you take classes in and that you then use to pass proficiency. So for example, if you came into the program and you were already proficient in Spanish, but you decided you wanted to take Portuguese or French or Swahili or another language, you could take those free classes and then at the end of the program still use Spanish to meet the proficiency. So if you are willing to take on the extra work, this is taken above and beyond your normal graduate classes. It's a great opportunity that is free. But now I'd like to turn it over to the students. If there's anything you want to talk about at all about learning in the GHD community. One thing that we do prioritize is mentoring. So each student as a first year student is assigned a second year mentor, as well as a faculty mentor. And then second year students have the opportunity for an alumni mentor. So if there's anything you all want to share about just what it's been like to learn here in the GHD community.
So, sorry, we were just very polite. So I think that one thing that, and I'm sure Bailey will think the same as me, is that since the cohort is so small, it is like a very team work oriented. So we do always have each other's back and we learn from each other, but most of all we like support each other through the workload that it can be a little overwhelming. So that is quite wonderful. And also I think that with the second years and with what Katie was referring to, the mentoring, the mentors from the second year, that is also it is very close. So we are all always around and everyone is so approachable. Or for me, at least as an international student, that has been something that has amazed me a lot, that everyone is so available and so willingly to help you, to help you, to support you, to teach you, to everything. And about the faculty and the practitioners, no words. It is extremely wonderful to have those personalities just in front of us, transmitting the knowledge and the expertise. That is just, I think, the best part of it all.
I would echo what Fernando was just saying, especially I've been so amazed by the faculty members here and how I feel like we not only do we get really awesome classroom experiences, but also just incredible connections and relationships with incredible practitioners in the field. And I've been so grateful in my time here to get to learn from our faculty in the classroom, but also to be able to connect with them in office hours. I've always felt supported by the faculty in pursuing different internship opportunities or trying to sort out my summer internship. For example, when I was working in Paraguay this summer, I had a question with Stata, and Dr. Tiangson was like willing to help me out in the middle of the summer when he did not have to because he was not teaching me. So I think the network and the community here in the GHD program is really phenomenal, and it makes for a great academic experience, but overall a great like personal and professional formational experience as well.
I would echo all of those sentiments. I think one of my favorite parts about being here is absolutely the community. Both of the cohort, like Grace and Fernanda have said, I feel like these are people that, you know, we form lifelong connections with now, and it is a really collaborative and supportive environment, not competitive in any way. With everyone comes with such interesting experience that there's a lot to learn from everyone's backgrounds. But I think more than anything, I've been so impressed with the professors and just how available and excited they are to support us both inside the classroom and out. I've already in less than one semester spent a significant amount of time in office hours just talking about like big world issues that I have questions about, down to like very specific questions on how to code something in Stata, and everyone is so great and helpful. So I've really appreciated that.
And Grace, you're a student representative. Do you want to talk a little bit about that in the context of student organizations?
Yes, so I am a council member on the School of Foreign Service Student Council and a senator in the GradGov organization, which represents all graduate students across the university. And then I also help coordinate a student-led speaker series on conflict and development issues. So I think those experiences have all been really cool ways for me to engage with the program and hear more from other students about what their experiences are. This is the first time in my life I've been involved in student council of any sort, which has been really neat. Within the SFS Council to collaborate with students from other programs, and then within GradGov to hear, you know, more about the student experience on the university overall. And I think there's a lot of really cool programs here at Georgetown, and even both within SFS and then more broadly looking at McCourt and the business school. There's a lot of really passionate individuals here, and I think one of the major valuable parts of coming to GHD is you're not only coming to GHD, you're coming to Georgetown, and there are a lot of ways to engage with the community outside of the academic classes and to learn from and connect with professionals who I'm sure in like 10, 20, 30 years will be very accomplished in their own right. I can be like, hey, we were on student council together, like, let's work on something. So there's a lot of really neat opportunities here.
I'm freelancing a bit, but I thought it might be useful to give a sense of what does a week look like during your first semester here. So first semester of your 2-year program, what does that look like? So probably during this typical week, you're taking a class with Professor Radelet. Steve Radelet is the director of the program. He's also co-author of the world's leading textbook on development economics. He was chief economist of USAID. He was advisor to President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in Liberia. That's just one of the 4 core courses you're taking during your first semester. You're probably taking a class also with Liza, who is a senior official of Pixera Global. What does she do? When she's not teaching here, she brings together key players, key organizations from the private sector and the public sector to lead pilot projects, programs at the community level. She's actually leading a few fascinating projects in Nigeria and India, bringing together global companies in the public sector to implement a few programs at the local level. You're probably taking a course with Professor Shireen Joji, who's doing path-breaking work on gender and inclusion in South Asia. Or you're taking a quant course with Professor Charlie Udamsaf, who is co-author of a very important volume on productivity in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, produced or published by the World Bank a few years ago. A few weeks ago, Professor Udamsaf also presented some of his ongoing research on enterprise productivity at a conference organized by the United Nations University. Those are just the 4 courses that you'll be taking here during your first semester. I haven't even mentioned all these career networking opportunities in a typical week. Your connections with alumni, your connections with people from other programs and so on.
I was just moving because we're
Sorry.
career preparation.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Well, if you want to continue what you were
No, please.
saying. Okay, well, so as we've mentioned many different faculty networks that students have access to, and some of the workshops that we offer, but in addition to the workshops that GHD offers, the School of Foreign Service Graduate Career Center also offers workshops and boot camps on things related to the job search. So Georgetown University has 14 career centers actually, of which the School of Foreign Service Graduate Career Center is one of them. So as you can tell from its name, it focuses on graduate students in the School of Foreign Service. So the types of employers that they're bringing to campus, the types of jobs that they're posting are all very targeted to the student population here at SFS. So they offer one-on-one counseling, they have employer panels and information sessions, different resources related specifically to development. We do have a designated career coach in the Career Center that works with GHD students, and then also a job and internship database that students can search for positions and upload their resume through that database. Our students have access to Georgetown's worldwide alumni network, as well as the School of Foreign Service alumni network, as well as the more specific GHD alumni network. And the Graduate Career Center is really great about being able to help connect GHD students to those broader alumni networks. But here in GHD, we do have an alumni database of just GHD alums that our students have access to. And it includes not just where these alums are now, though of course it includes that, but also what they did while they were a student here. So if you see an alum who has a position that you're very interested in, you can scroll across and see, well, these are the types of classes that they took while at GHD. This is the language they used to meet proficiency. This is what they did their capstone on. This is where they did their summer internship, and really see how they were able to build all of that together to lead them to the career where they are now. So that's a great resource available to our students. And of course, they can then connect with alums through that database. And I mentioned earlier that we do have an alumni mentoring program. If Grace, you want to tell us a little bit about your experience in that program?
Yeah, so I was connected with my alumni mentor at the beginning of this semester, and he's awesome. He works for USAID doing work that I'm really interested in. So it was really cool to get to connect with him. We met up in person, got coffee, and he's been really helpful in helping me think about my own goals for post-grad and how that translates into an actual job, and has also been really helpful in connecting me with other contacts of his, both within his cohort. He graduated, I think, about 3.5 years ago. So people he knew when he was in the program, most of them I have not met because we didn't overlap at all at Georgetown, but he's been really helpful in connecting me with colleagues of his from the program, but also from other professional opportunities. So it's really cool. I mean, I think we've only known each other now for about 2 months, but I'm excited to see how that mentoring relationship continues to grow over the course of the year and post-grad.
So our alumni, as you can see from the screen, they're really all over the world. 37% of them are working abroad in a variety of different regions. They're also working in many different sectors. Probably not surprising, we've got 40% in the nonprofit sector, but we also do have a number of alumni in private sector, multilateral organizations, and a few of them in academia, but not as many there. But our alums are doing all sorts of work all over the world, which you can also see. And I don't think that's even a full list of countries where they're currently based. Do you have anything to add about alumni? Okay. So hopefully at this point you are interested in applying to the program. But before I go over just, I guess, the ins and outs of the application process, I might turn back to the students and just, all of you were in this position, a year to 2 years ago. Do you have any advice in general for anybody who's considering this program, or what were you considering when you looked at graduate programs?
I think one thing that's so great about GHD and the application process is how supportive everybody is. I had a difficult time getting to connect with students and professors and faculty at some other universities, but GHD is able to arrange to talk to current students, or you can come sit in on classes or meet with faculty of interest. And I think that's a really great way to get perspective and understand if this program is going to be the right fit for you. And I was also applying from Uganda, so I didn't have the chance to come in person, but I was able to talk with students, and I thought that was really important in coloring my decision to actually come to Georgetown.
I would echo that. I was applying while being based out of the country and spent a lot of time reaching out to various programs to try to get a sense of the student experience, the curriculum, post-grad opportunities, and I would encourage everybody to do that. Absolutely do your research. Grad school is a huge investment of time and money, so definitely make sure that you're pursuing a program that you're really excited about. And B, to Bailey's point, I chose GHD in large part because I felt really supported through the application process and like I was going to have a great experience once I got here. And that was absolutely the right sense. I have loved GHD since being here, but would definitely recommend, do your research, ask the questions, and try to connect with students and faculty as much as possible.
The other thing that I think really separates GHD from other development programs is that it is the most practitioner-oriented one, by far. Sorry. So that was one of, and I think I can speak for the three of us, that was one of the reasons that we chose this program. I think that the development world is moving so quickly and innovative so fast that in order to have success in that world, you need to have a graduate degree that is practitioner oriented and that can give you all the opportunities that were mentioned in here to really practice what you were taught here and to gain more and more experience, different types of experience. Like Grace was just saying, all the different things she has been able to do in the year and a half that she's been here. So
I'm freelancing again. I'd like to add that when we say it's a practitioner focused or practitioner oriented program, I think we mean not just that here you'll have an opportunity to work with global practitioners, global scholars, or meet people from all over the world, or have the opportunity to discuss in class things that are real as opposed to just theory. I mean, all of those are true. But beyond that, what we also want to say is that here you're learning about international development, not from a distance, but in a way that already provides you with opportunities to solve real problems. The capstone project is certainly one opportunity to do so. You're being presented with a real challenge faced by a real organization. And if your work is done well, it's going to change the organization that you work with is going to change their strategy. I talked a little bit about the partnerships we've been setting up as part of our experiential learning, as part of our curriculum. Some of my students in the elective I teach in the fall will be presenting their work at the World Bank on Friday. They've been asked by the East Asia Gender Innovation Lab to try to understand the correlates of gender-based violence. The idea is for the Innovation Lab to learn from the work of the students so that they can design a pilot program accordingly. Should they focus on a particular region or a particular socioeconomic group? Should this be for the young or for older people? All of these things, the design features of whatever pilot program they come up with in Southeast Asia to help combat gender-based violence, that would come directly from the research work of the students in our electives.
So yes, hopefully you are now convinced to apply. So we do have a fairly standard graduate school application if you're looking at a few different grad programs. We do require an online application form. And then you'll need to upload a personal statement where we ask what motivates you to work in development and where do you think you'll be and what will you be doing in 2030. And so I think for that personal statement, I really do recommend being as specific as you can be. We know your career goals could change. We know the field of development could change. in the next 10 years, but just what are you thinking now? This is really where the admissions committee gets to know you as more than just test scores and GPA. So be as specific as you can with your personal statement. We do ask for a resume or CV. For test scores, all students are required to submit one test score. So for those of you who attended university where English was the primary language of instruction for your undergraduate degree, you are required to submit either the GRE or GMAT. For those of you who attended a university where English was not the primary language of instruction, you are required to submit either the TOEFL or the IELTS. But for you, the GRE or GMAT is optional, but recommended if you are able to take it. For transcripts, we can accept unofficial transcripts at the time of application. You can just upload those into the online application form itself. So that can be something that you download from your university's web portal if they have that available, as long as it has your university's name and your name on it. We do occasionally run into students who download something from their portal, but it doesn't include their name. And in that case, we cannot accept it. So you'll need to request a transcript from your school and then scan and upload it if that's the case for your university. We do also ask for 3 letters of recommendation. Ideally, those will be a combination of academic and professional letters of recommendation. But a common question from applicants who have been out of school for quite some time is, they may not have been in touch with their professors. And in that case, it's fine to have 3 professional recommendations. It's better to have 3 people who know you and remember you versus an academic reference that may not remember you from years and years ago. We do offer, GHD offers merit-based scholarships. So as long as you submit your application by the January 15th application deadline, you will be considered for merit-based scholarships. There's a question that asks, would you like to be considered for scholarships? You say yes, and then you'll be considered. There's no extra essays or anything for GHD's merit-based scholarships. So most of our scholarship funding is general funding for students of all nationalities that everyone will be automatically considered for. Then we do have a few specific scholarships. There's a number of international scholarships. For example, there is the Father Nebres scholarship for a student from the Philippines, and that is a full tuition scholarship. There is also the McGurn scholarship for a student from Sub-Saharan Africa, which is also a full tuition scholarship. We do have the Beck Endowed Scholarship for a student from Latin America, which is a 50% scholarship, and then also some partial scholarships for students from Asia and the Middle East. So we've got a number of scholarships that are specifically designated for international applicants, and there's nothing additional you need to do. We base that on the citizenship that you list on your application, and then you'll be automatically considered for those scholarships. We are also a Coverdale program for those of you who are Peace Corps volunteers or returned Peace Corps volunteers. So we do offer 3 minimum 1/3 tuition scholarships for Coverdale fellows. So unfortunately, not all of our Peace Corps volunteers or returned Peace Corps volunteers are able to be awarded the Coverdale Fellowship, but we are happy to waive application fees for all Peace Corps volunteers and RPCVs who are in consideration for the Coverdale Fellowship. And then all of those students are once again considered for our general funding as well. And then finally, we are happy to award a $10,000 scholarship for a former Jesuit volunteer. And so that's, once again, something, there's not a separate application, but you can just send us documentation that confirms your service in the Jesuit Volunteer Corps, and we will consider you for that $10,000 scholarship. So that's the GHD merit-based scholarships. Like I said, no extra financial aid application for those. This year, we also have a brand new McHenry Fellowship that is offered through the School of Foreign Service, and that is full tuition scholarship. There's going to be 5 offered this coming year to incoming students in the 8 programs at the School of Foreign Service. So I encourage you to look into the McHenry Fellowship. If you just Google McHenry Fellowship Georgetown, that should pop up. That does require an extra application, and it's due January 6th, but it is full tuition, so definitely look into that. We do also encourage students to look into external scholarships, and we have a link that includes some specified for international students as well as some for domestic students on our website, or you can email us and I'd be happy to share that with you as well. And then, of course, there are federal loans available to U.S. students and then international students, depending on where you are from. So most students do fund their time in the program through a combination of these different resources, the GHD scholarships, external scholarships, loans, and then personal savings or resources. So that's mostly our presentation, but before we sign off, just maybe check to see if you have any final pieces of advice for anyone considering the program or considering grad school in general, or anything. All three of you moved to DC for the program. If there's anything you'd like to share about what it's like to live in DC, or just any parting words from any of you.
As far as moving to DC, I had been to DC prior to starting the program, but only like for Model UN, I think, as a high schooler. So it's been really cool to kind of move back as an adult, and socially, I think DC is a fun place to be as a young person, but I would also just say if you're interested in international development, there's really no better city to be in the US. Pretty much all the major development organizations in the US are based in DC or have operations here. So aside from Georgetown being an awesome university and GHD being an incredible program in their own right, being able to complement that with internships and like speaking events or galas or different events here in DC really enriches the experience. I really like DC, as Katie mentioned. Feel free to reach out to the GHD info at georgetown.edu, and you can connect with myself or Bailey or Fernanda. I'm more than happy to talk about DC at length, but I won't do that right now. But definitely recommend DC as a city.
As an international student, it is a little more of a move, but I do think that I coincide with Grace in thinking that DC not only is the best city in the US for the development world, but it is also, it has the best of both worlds. So it has everything a big city should have, but in a not so big, not so chaotic way. So that is very, I think, embracing for us, the international students that are coming to a whole new country, especially because there are people from all over the world in this city. So just walking down the street, you hear several languages and see so many people that aren't from here. So that is very, very rewarding also.
I echo all those sentiments, and as a grad student in DC, it's a good place to be because there are so many free things to do, whether it be all the museums or the galas or events. There's a lot of ways to engage without spending a lot more extra money.
Okay. Do you have any final advice for anyone considering being a student here?
Come join us. It's really a great place to be in. You're going to have an amazing experience.
Great. And so as you can see, there's different ways to connect with us. You can visit us on our website. We will have a few live webinars coming up before the application deadline, which will be very similar to this presentation, but you can ask your questions live and have them answered. You can also just email us directly at ghdinfo@georgetown.edu if you have any questions. Like Grace mentioned, I'm happy to share the direct contact information of students who are here today if you have any questions, and also Professor Johnson. So if you have any questions or want to follow up, happy to put you in touch. But thank you for watching, and I hope you will apply. As mentioned, our application deadline is January 15th for scholarship consideration, or April 1st if you have other funding and don't need scholarship consideration. But thank you, and we hope to see your application.